Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the board meeting of the Halifax Regional Water Commission. The agenda is on the screen. Before we begin, just a couple preliminary points about comings and goings. I'd like to introduce the newest commissioner on the board, Jeff Langley, who is joining us for his first board meeting. Welcome aboard, Jeff, and we look forward to your contributions. And also want to express my thanks and regret for someone who will be attending their last board meeting, Kathy O'Toole, who has a long history with Halifax Water and is a very valuable member both of the organization and the board. And thank you for all your contributions, Kathy, and we'll certainly miss you. I think Kenda might have a couple words to say.
Yes, thank you, Chair McPherson. I've had the privilege and the honor of working with Kathy for a number of years now. And as many of you know, before leaving to go back to HRM in 2023, Kathy worked with many of us at Halifax Water. She first was the Director of Corporate Services and the CFO, and then became the first female general manager at Halifax Water. Kathy continues to be an incredible leader who helped guide and mentor many employees, myself included, and still to this day, with a number of the challenges that we face with our infrastructure, compliance, and growth within the municipality. And how can we forget COVID? So we stick handled ourselves through that challenge with the rest of the world. And Kathy was leading us through that. So on behalf of the executive team and all of the employees at Halifax Water, we want to thank you, Kathy, for your tireless dedication to the overall well-being of the municipality and your strong leadership and mentoring over the years, and wish you all the best in your new chapter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kenda, and thank you for not making me cry.
Perhaps we'll move on that note to the agenda, and there are no in-camera motions, so we'll move to 1B. The order of business and agenda has been circulated. Are there any additions or deletions? Hearing none, would someone care to move the motion?
I can do that, Mr. Chair. I move that the Halifax Water Board approve the order of business and approve any additions or deletions.
Thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Cuddle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. The minutes of the meeting of June 19th, 2025 have been circulated. Are there any additions, deletions, or modifications? Seeing none, would someone care to move the motion to approve the minutes? Moved by Commissioner Cuddle.
I move that Halifax Water Board approve the minutes of June 19th, 2025 regular meeting.
And
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Deagle-Gammon. All those in favor? Thank you
Aye.
very much. Motion approved. We have some commissioners who have some time constraints at the end of the allotted time at 12. So in light of that, I'd like to, with permission of the board, to move to items 4.4 and 4.5, and then we will go back and cover the other items if that's acceptable to the board. Okay, thank you. 4.4, the fall debenture.
So Halifax Water is continuing to issue debt based on the approved budget. We had approval for $68 million in debt. We issued $34 million in the spring. We are issuing or looking for approval to issue the second part of that, the second part of $34 million for the fall. The approval rate, the rate that's in the motion of 7% is the rate that we've been asked through the provincial government to reference in our documents, and that just gives us enough of a cushion depending on what the rate comes in at. The last debt issue was in the range of 3.73%, and we anticipate it will be in that general range again. So as much as we are looking for an approval of 7, we anticipate it being much lower. The second part of the motion speaks to refinancing of a balloon payment. So we issue debt and over a longer amortization period, but we finance it over 10 years. So at the end of the 10 years, that debt comes up for renewal, and we need our board to approve it again. And that is in reference to the 0.4 million that's in the motion.
Thank you. Are there any questions in regard to the debenture? Commissioner Deagle-Gammon.
Mr. Chair, if you like, I can put the motion on the floor before the discussion. Would that be good?
Sure.
Okay.
Certainly. Yes.
Move that the Halifax Water Board approve the financing in with a 30-year amortization term and financing over 10 years. The maximum all-inclusive rate is not to exceed 7%. And 2, approve the refinancing of $15,403,516 with a 10-year amortization term and financing over 10 years with an all-inclusive rate not to exceed 7%.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
Second.
Commissioner Steele. Discussion. Any questions in regard to the request for approval of a debenture? Commissioner Langley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I just had a question on the 10-year amortization period and then the balloon payments. Is that typical, or could it prove to be beneficial to go shorter or longer than that in certain circumstances where we know the kind of forecast for the economy may not be the greatest over the next couple of years, so that might trigger the Bank of Canada to lower interest rates. So would a shorter term be advantageous to the organization?
Halifax Water has used the 10 years for many, many years. There may be opportunities to look at that. We are essentially following what we've been doing in the past. We think the 10 years is reasonable, and it saves us the need to refinance or to bring it back more often than that. But that's been the practice for many years.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner O'Toole.
Yeah, a little bit of history on that, because it's a practice the municipality is typically employed also. Halifax Water has been around since 1945. The municipality's been borrowing in this fashion for at least 30 years. HRAM and the predecessor municipalities, but it was supported by periodic studies, Commissioner Langley, looking at the actual experience and what would have been happening if, for instance, 20-year amortization schedule and 20-year debt term compared to the 10-year term versus the 20-year amortization schedule. So looking at those two alternatives. And historically, it had been more advantageous to take the 10-year terms and to do renewals. Of course, everything changes as conditions change. So always opportunity to update those studies.
Fair enough. Yeah, thanks a lot for that background.
Okay, are there any other questions? Seeing none, I have one. For Mr. de Montfort. As you know, at the general rate application hearing, there was some discussion around debt and amortization periods and suggestions that perhaps a longer period might be advantageous to the utility. Was that considered, and can you briefly discuss what the pros and cons are of that? And I guess ultimately, whether at this point it is even something that can be done through the provincial finance department.
So we have had discussions with the provincial government in the past, we think they'd be open to looking at longer amortization periods. 6 years ago, we were using an amortization period of 20 years. We extended that over that period of time to 30 years. And what that does is just spreads out our payments, principal and interest over the 30-year period instead of a 20-year period. So that pushes those costs into our rates over a longer period of time. So it reduces the short term. On the short term, it reduces the rate in any given year, but it significantly increases the cost of interest to finance that debt when we use a longer amortization period. We did in the rate application, in answer to one of the questions from the board, we looked at what the cost would be of extending our $150 million that we proposed to issue in 26-27. Over a 20-year period, we pay about $93 million in interest. If we extended that to 30 years, we'd pay $123 million in interest. So it's a significant cost to the utility. The question is what is the right balance between a short-term savings to customers and a long-term cost to the utility? So that's the balance. We committed to having those conversations and continuing those conversations with the provincial government. At this stage, we do not have the option to issue over that longer period of time.
But it is certainly, you're cognizant of it and it's on the table, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. Any other comments or questions? The motion is on the floor. All those in favor, say aye or raise their hand.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion passed. And if we could just circle back briefly, I was in error in saying that there were no motions coming out of in camera. There was one. Could I have a motion to ratify the in camera motions?
So moved.
And,
Halifax Water Board ratify the in-camera minutes, motions.
yeah, and seconded by Commissioner Cuddle. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? None. Motion approved. Thank you for that, and thank you, Kenda, for reminding me of what I missed. 4.5, change to the financial statements approved at the Audit and Finance Committee.
So we had went to the board earlier in June seeking approval for our financial statements. At the time, we referenced that Doane Grant Thornton were in the final stages of their audit. One of the final steps that they did is they questioned one of our calculations related to depreciation. And when they did additional work, they discovered that there was an error in the statements that this updated version will correct. If you go to the next page, and if you keep going, the next page after this, the paragraph that says during the final stages, that outlines the most significant of the issues that were discovered. There was assets dating back as far as the 1970s that were the accounting for it, the depreciation on it needed to be adjusted. It hadn't been adjusted up until this set of financial statements in 2025. So when the question started, we dug into it and we have proposed a change to the financial statements. So that change adjusts the assets and accumulated surpluses by about $10.4 million. So you'll see that there's actually a note 17 that describes the change. And then as they were also going through the last version of the statements, they they asked us to make some basic edits to the statements, and those are outlined in the 4 points below. Below this, most of them are just more housekeeping in nature. We hadn't picked up quite the right number in our statements. It doesn't affect the overall balances. It affects primarily the cash flow statement. And there were a couple of areas where we had used the wrong interest rate. For example, in some of our in our note disclosures, so those were adjusted as well.
There is a motion. Would someone like to move the motion?
I can do that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Deagle-Gammon?
It's recommended that the Halifax Water Board approve the updated financial statements of the Halifax Regional Water Commission for the year ended March 31st, 2025.
And seconded.
I'll second.
Now, any questions or discussion?
So I have a sort of a comment question, I guess, if that's okay, Mr. Chair. So if and I know that we went through this in the Audit and Finance Committee, you know, it's interesting that an issue from the 70s comes back to it. But that was a changeover in the accounting between the one system and another. Louis, is that?
The adjustment that's required was related to our moving to the IFRS rules over our statements. So that
Right.
That should have driven a change into our statements. How it came up this time is with the move of those assets into our new ERP system, Kayenta. We put the new assets in, we ran the calculation, and all of a sudden there was a significant increase in the amount of depreciation that led to that doesn't make sense. Why is that number increasing that much? And then when we dug into it, we discovered it was something that started in the 70s. That is because of the changeover, triggered a much bigger adjustment that we would have had in the past.
Great. Thank you very much.
Commissioner O'Toole.
I just wanted to say, I think it's commendable that Halifax Water staff were able to pick up and go back and do the forensic auditing, going back to even paper records from the 70s to figure this out and figure out something that, you know, really maybe the external auditors should have been able to pick up or flag at the 2016 IFRS conversion. So well done to your accounting team.
Well, I give all the credit to Warren Brake, who has piles of paper in his office for a reason. So yes, it was very helpful.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? There is a motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Hi.
And contrary minded? Motion passed. Thank you. So if we can go back to business arising, item 3A, there's an update to be provided on the Green Choice Program enrollment update.
Yes, thank you. I have Josh DeYoung here, Director of Engineering and Capital Infrastructure. I also have David Cameron. He's a project engineer in our energy efficiency group. He's going to provide a brief update on that program and the enrollment.
Thanks for the introduction, Josh. Hi, everyone. Just throwing a PowerPoint up here quickly. So yeah, I'll do a quick run through of the Nova Scotia Green Choice Program update. Let's see here. Bear with me. Quick outline. I'll do an overview. We'll take a quick look at Halifax Water's energy and emissions, some projected benefits, and what our next steps are. So the Green Choice Program is a program developed through collaborative innovation between the province, independent power producers, the utility, and high-use customers that allows participating customers to purchase up to 100% of their electricity use from local renewable energy sources, primarily wind, as the program stands today. The objective is to enable large energy users in Nova Scotia to enroll and have renewable energy procured on their behalf to meet their energy needs and climate change goals. It also drives new renewable energy investments in Nova Scotia. The Green Choice program is comprised of two components, proponents and participants. Proponents are independent power producers who have been selected to construct renewable energy projects, and participants are larger scale electricity consumers who consume more than 10,000 megawatt hours of electrical energy per year. So there are currently 11 participants in the program, actually 10. The province has dropped out due to some unanticipated they weren't able to execute some of the agreements with the proponents, so fewer wind projects, but still looking like all the other folks are going to get everything they agreed to get. Let's see, so why enroll? So there's a few things here. Environmental benefits, so we use renewable energy to decrease emissions, competitive costs, current renewable energy costs expected to be competitive with business as usual. Reputational benefits, so we have customers and interested parties are expecting climate action, and societal benefit to accelerate Nova Scotia's clean energy transition. A quick overview of our Halifax Water's energy use. So wastewater is about 42,000 megawatt hours. Water is about 20,000 megawatt hours, and admin is about 2,000 megawatt hours. Of that overall energy use, electricity accounts for 86%. So it's the vast majority of our energy use, which is why the Green Choice program will have such a great impact for us in terms of cleaning up our emissions intensity per delivered and treated water and wastewater volumes. Quick overview of some financial benefits. I won't get too hung up on all the numbers here, but the big take home here is even if the producers only produce 25% of what they expect to from the wind projects, our savings and net present value over 25 years are still well over $1 million. And that's based on the low carbon cost forecast. High end looks more like, and if they produce everything they say they will, it could be 16 million savings and a net present value of 10 million. So it's reasonably significant in the grand scheme. Next steps. We're at the second one from the bottom here, execution of subscriber agreement. Just received confirmation earlier today that they're expecting to have that executed on Nova Scotia Power's end by the end of Q3 2025. And yeah, open up for any questions or comments.
Okay, thank you, David. Are there any questions about the Green Choice program and Halifax's enrollment? Commissioner Purdy.
Thank you. So no expert in this at all, but just, hearing stories coming out of Europe and Germany that, sustainable energy really maybe in some cases not cracked up to be all it says it is, and actually quite expensive and not as reliable. So do we have a backup source? I guess tracking numbers, is there a way to, if it doesn't result in reliability and cost efficiency, is there a way to readjust the contract?
So we have the option to back out more or less at any time. There's just a clause in the contract that says we have to give them, I don't remember the exact term, but it's so many months of notice. And I guess in the sense of this is all just being fed into the grid. So, if things don't work out that way, then we just go back to business as usual. It's not actually a setup just to supply us. It's fed into the grid and then we buy it. So we pay an administrative fee, but then the carbon cost forecast is more than that administrative fee. And that's why we end up with the positive net present value and positive savings over the 25-year term.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Any other questions? Yes, Commissioner Deagle-Gammon.
Thank you very much. Thank you, David. David, you said that the province withdrew.
Yes.
So we've gone from 11 to 10. Do we, I think you said administratively, there were some criteria that they could or couldn't meet. Was that a time-driven thing? Or is it, were there issues that the province had that might be perceived to be risks for Halifax Water?
So the reason the province actually dropped off is that they had 6 proponents respond to their RFP to develop wind projects, and they
Right.
were only able to execute 2 of those agreements. So therefore, the pool of renewable energy coming from the executed projects has decreased significantly. And I think where the province is one of the main organizations kind of spearheading this program,
Right.
they thought it would be, I think, a conflict of interest if they kept a big portion and told other people, that other participants, that they couldn't get what they had agreed to get. So they decided in this case to completely withdraw from the program to allow the other 10 participants to receive everything that they're supposed to receive. In the future, they'll run another round of procurement for proponents and try to execute more agreements, power purchase agreements, so that they can fill out the program even beyond what it was originally. And they think they'll open that to the original participants, such as Halifax Water, the Walmarts of the world, the people that are in the program already. And then after that, open it up further to other organizations as well.
Oh, good. Thank you for that added clarity. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, no problem.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation. Oh, Kenda.
Yes, thank you, David, for your presentation. I do want to highlight, we missed one recommendation report, 4.3. It's more of a formality. It's a filing that we have to provide to the utility board next week, but we wanted to just bring it forward to this board just to get your review of it and if you have any questions on it. So apologies for missing this one.
Okay, perhaps we can move forward to 4.3 then.
Thank you.
As Kenda suggested or mentioned, this is more of a formality. It literally is a list of all our projects that we've closed over the course of the year, and provides a calculation of whether or not they were over or under budget. Some of the projects that we've closed go back as part of a cleanup that we've been doing in-house. So some of them are a bit dated, but it's representing sort of a cleanup as well as presenting additional information to the board. It is literally a list with here's the original balance and here's where the amounts closed. There's no additional analysis or information about why, but we're happy to, if people are looking at specific items, to do our best to answer those questions.
Thank you, Louis. Are there any questions or comments about the list of projects? Commissioner Cuddle.
Hi, I just have a question about when we talk about expenditures, if we could include sources of revenue. I noted in the minutes related to other projects, where we have a large capital project, it said 50% was through regional development charges, 25% from HRM, 25% of the funding was coming from Halifax Water. And just with the kind of the scrutiny right now on us in regards to costs and major projects and where funding comes from, I'm wondering if there's a way to make it a more general practice that we identify kind of the major funding, the revenue components that are funding these major projects when we talk about them.
We have, yes, I think we can, in terms of providing information on the external funding whether or not that's from work we do with HRM or whether or not it's through our RDC program or our CCC program. So we could provide that. The additional information about whether or not it's debt or depreciation, which are our other key funding sources, a little more challenging as when we're proposing the project, that isn't really a decision that's made at that time. That decision is made more when we're issuing the debt, as opposed to when we're looking for approval. But we are able to provide additional information on funding sources.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I have one quick question, which probably is more in the nature of a comment. In the report, there's a mention of an aggregate net surplus. And when I go back and you look at the actual listing of projects, I take it that means whether they were under or over budget.
That is correct.
So when you look at that over the course of the last fiscal year, there were some multiples of billions of dollars that can go to future projects that Halifax Water has been able to accumulate or not spend because on balance, the majority of projects have come in under budget. Yeah, I think that's a good news story because you don't often hear that with so many major capital projects. There is a motion associated, as Kenda said, with this item, 4.3. It is recommended the Halifax Water Board approve for filing with the NSRAB the capital project spending summary for the period April 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2025, and the capital project spending over $1 million summary for the period April 1st, 2024 and March 31st, 2025. Would anyone care to move that motion?
So moved.
Commissioner Steele, a seconder. Commissioner Langley. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor? Raise your hand or say aye. Contrary minded. Motion passed. Thank you. So perhaps now we can go to 3B, the boil water advisory, and the update on corrective measures and the NSRAB audit in regard to that those advisories.
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner McPherson. Today, I'm John Eisner, Director of Operations, and with me I have Jarvis Singer, Senior Manager of Water and Wastewater Treatment. Jarvis is just going to give an update on the boil water, and I'll touch on the RAB audit.
Great, thank you for your time today. So I'll run through corrective measures status updates with this presentation. So if you go to the next slide, please. Here's a couple of key acronyms for your awareness. Next slide, please. In the interest of time, I'll be as succinct as possible, but feel free to ask any questions. I can dive deep on any item if you so wish. So what you're seeing on your screen is a pooled grouping of corrective measures from Boil Water 1, which occurred in July 2024, and Boil Water 2, which occurred in January 2025. So here's our completion status, 25% complete in the July corrective measure report and 42% on the January report. So as you know, we have 16 corrective measures from Boil Water 1 and 19 corrective measures from Boil Water 2. So if you go to the next slide, please. And of course, those are broken up in different timelines. We've got short, medium, and long-term timelines. And so just as a reminder, our short-term timeline was within a year of occurrence, medium term was within 1 to 2 years, and long-term is 5 to 10 projection. So the teams had a very productive summer. We've been able to close out all projects related to Boil Water 1 in the short term. So we're well on track there. Medium term, we've progressed an additional 10% since I last spoke to you in June. And everything is underway with all of our projects related to the corrective measures from the July occurrence. So we go to the next slide, please. Similar layout here, but this is in terms of the January boil water 2. So we're just over halfway of delivering on the projects related to the corrective measures in the short-term window. About a third completed through the medium term. And again, everything is presently underway in our project team, executing on tasks and closing out projects in terms of the timeline. So if you go to the next slide, please. So the next few slides is a detailed breakdown of the corrective measures and the status updates. If there's any questions I have to answer, but I pulled out a few highlights. The blue boxes are completed projects. So these two are highlights of things we've recently completed over the summer. These two relate to electrical studies and thermal scans. So we've closed those out over the summer. Go to the next slide, please. Here is a project that we've closed out in relation to emergency exercises. And so there's a little bit of nuance here I should speak to. So just because our project to conduct emergency exercises is closed, there is the expectation in the program within Halifax Water as this is a continuous program, continuous project. So in that light, with this project, we have created an approach document for a continuous improvement. We know we will constantly be evaluating our circumstances and developing further training and exercises. So we've made a governance and approach document to help us categorize future learnings and integrate them into our existing program. That approach document has schedule. It gives definitions of what is tabletop exercises, what are operational drills, how do we tackle incident response playbooks and incident response plans. So it's a holistic document that helps us to keep the program running as we move forward. So we now have that project complete, but it is an ongoing continuous program. Go to the next slide, please. So now we're moving on to the table. This is from January 2025. This is the boil water 2 corrective measures. So orange refers to currently in progress, so not yet complete. One highlight here in terms of our electrical evaluation, we have completed a number of electrical reviews, but the remaining one is part of the scope of our external consultant operation resiliency review. So that's currently in flight, and I'll speak to that in another table coming up. So go to the next slide, please. So here's two recently completed projects over the summer. This is in line of our installation of additional chlorine analyzers and disinfection analyzers to improve our situational awareness, both in a preventative approach and also in a situational awareness. If we do have an issue, we can track our data much more quickly and efficiently. So those two have been completed over the summer as well. Go to the next slide, please. And here, the highlight here is one of the major cornerstones is in progress right now. We have our operational resiliency review with our consultants at the JDK facility. They've done a site visit in July. We just finished another site visit in September. So they are collecting all the information required, producing some technical memos and reports for us. We're doing a lot of things with Agile. So as they encounter any issues, we are taking those in and addressing them as they come up. We're not waiting for the final report to take action. So that's underway. We expect the final report to be done in Q2 of 2026. So that's been going very well so far.
Thank you, Jarvis. Are there any questions coming out of that? Seeing none, we'll move on to John. The other side of this is the RAB directed audit.
Yeah, so as everyone knows, last January, following the second boil order, the Premier of Nova Scotia reached out to the Regulatory and Appeals Board requesting them to investigate Halifax Water. In July, the NSRAB informed us that Corallo Engineers Canada Limited had been engaged to conduct an operations and maintenance audit. And at that time, they shared a draft terms of reference with us. We had an opportunity over the summer to provide some comments and feedback on the terms of reference. However, in August, when the NSRAB communicated back to us, they felt that the terms of reference captured the key components of Corallo's engagement and no changes were made to the terms of reference. In that same correspondence, the NSRAB did acknowledge the fact that we were in the general rate application process, and they agreed that the audit process should commence once the whole GRA submission and once the GRA process has been completed and our final submissions have been submitted to them. We haven't heard from Corolla yet, but we expect to do so over the next couple of weeks, probably, to start looking at what their approach is going to be for the audit and start discussing scheduling and site visits and interview times. And it was noted in the terms of reference that the timeline for Corolla is at the 24-week work timeframe for completion of their audit.
Thank you, John. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, perhaps, thank you very much. We'll move on to 4.1, the operating financial results.
So I will go through quickly the operating results. If you can go to the top of page 2, there's a table there that describes the assets. I always like to start by referencing the cash balance at the end of July was approximately $97 million. It continues to be in that range. We anticipate that balance will continue to come down as the capital expenditures over the construction season have continued to come in. If you could then go to, we'll just talk a little bit about the revenue side. It would be the top of page 6. Sorry for jumping around. We provide information around the consumption that we have experienced over the time period. We have presented information here that shows that over the first 4 months of the year, we have seen an increase year over year of about 4.2% based on our billed revenue. So that's the amount of consumption that's been invoiced. We also track the actual amount of consumption that's happened over that period, and that increase is closer to about 1.6. So in the billed revenue, there's a couple month delay for our residential customers. The update of 1.6 in terms of actual consumption is more representative of where we are with our voluntary and mandatory water restrictions. So we're seeing that increasing trend that we had been coming down. We also anticipate that some of that is related to our pending rate increases. We had proposed in our application that we expected that would cause a decrease in consumption. So there are a number of factors that are affecting that consumption over that period of time. We have seen an increase of approximately 560 customers, which is good. That will have an impact of driving up our base revenue, our base charges revenue, which has gone up approximately 2.67% year over year. And if I can just skip ahead again, it's on page 8. At the bottom of that, or the middle of that page, there is a table that references the surpluses or deficits, in this case, over the first 4 months of the year. We have the budgeted information. Table 8 right there. Perfect. It's the bottom table.
Apologies.
It shows the budget for water, wastewater, and stormwater. Our budget of deficit of $34 million. We're currently seeing the actual results for that 4-month period, a deficit of about $7 million for water, which is where we would expect it to be. Wastewater is considerably less than we would have expected to be. This has been a trend that we experienced last year as well. there's nothing specific that is jumping out through the numbers, so it's, we expect that it will continue to be slightly under budget. But we expect with our debt and principal payments and our depreciation at the end of the year that those numbers will come far more in line with what we had budgeted. And then on the stormwater side, we have a budget of about $4 million deficit, and a deficit as of the end of July of about 1.5, which is essentially right on track to where we'd expect. And happy to answer any other questions if you have any.
Are there any questions on the financials? Would it be fair to summarize, Louis, in saying that it's on track where you would largely expect it to be?
It is.
Any questions, comments? Not seeing any. If we could move on to the 4.2 capital expenditures.
I would just like to note that there is a recommendation in 4.1. Do we want to put that on the floor, Mr. Chair?
I don't see the recommendation, but
Mr. Chair, I see it in the report if you would like me to put it there.
sure.
Sure, it's recommended that the Halifax Water Board approve the operating financial report for the 4 months ended July 31st, 2025.
Okay, and somebody care to second that? Commissioner Steele. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Aye, raise their hand. Contrary minded. Recommendation accepted.
My apologies. The report should be purely an information report. It doesn't require board approval, but my apologies for that being in there.
Okay, that's fine.
And if we can move to 4.2,
Yes.
There's a nice little table, I believe it's on page 3 of the board report, that summarizes the total budget available, the expenditures to March 31st on our open work orders, the expenditures of approximately $26.7 million so far this fiscal year. Again, as we talked earlier, the expectation is those numbers will continue to increase over the next 3 months through the primary construction season. We'll flag that the expenditures are above the budget or the trend that we were seeing in last year, so that is a good sign. And we have currently spent approximately 36.6% of the available funds that we have.
Thank you. Are there any questions concerning the capital expenditures? Yes, Commissioner Langley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, just being new to the board, it's not really on where you are year to date, but I was just looking at the budgeted numbers, and it kind of struck me that I didn't quite understand why the corporate category is so large compared to the water, wastewater categories of capital spending. Is there something specific going on, like a corporate initiative or something like that, that I think it's about 135 million or 136 million of the overall 368 million total. So I was just curious on that point.
I don't have the detail list, but happy to track down additional details. Those corporate projects tend to be projects that are not specifically allocated to water, wastewater, stormwater. So they tend to be projects like our Burnside Operation Depot, which will serve multiple services. So we put them in corporate, and then as we get to the rate making process, we'll allocate those between the various services.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on the capital expenditures? Seeing none, we will move to information reports. The first is the operational performance information report.
I don't. Not sure
Is,
if anybody was going to talk to that or not.
is somebody going to speak to that, or?
No, well, we can. Historically, the information reports were provided, and if a member of the board wanted it brought forward for conversation, we can bring it forward. So we're able to do whatever is your pleasure.
Well, there are 4 reports there. Are there, let's see, Commissioner Cuttle is getting suited up and getting ready to leave. Are there any questions arising from any of those reports? Oh, Commissioner Cuttle.
I did have questions related to the first information report, I think it's 1I, about the metrics for the leakage. That's been a topic of discussion recently in the public. I see there's some charts there on that. And I'm wondering if we could, yeah, and I'm just looking at that previous one with the previous one with the, okay, there's that one, the water production with that, the yellow, oh, there we go. The 2025 system inputs by year imperial gallons, and I'm just looking at how erratic the yellow line looks in comparison to 23-24, and also the next chart as well with the water main breaks. And I'm wondering if there's like what's driving the peaks and valleys on the 2025 input, and is it a correlation at all with the water main breaks?
And maybe I'll, John, if you could take those, that'd be great.
Specific to what the 2 peaks are in 25, I'd have to dig into that a little bit further to see if there wasn't something specific going on that could drive that up. From time to time, there could be, in the past, there could be a long-standing leak that could push that up. I know this past winter, we had a lot of challenges in the East region, more so than we had in past years. So that could have potentially impacted the peak in February of 25. As far as the July one, I'd have to take a closer look to see what that could be.
Okay, and looking at the water main break data, I know that a lot of breaks do happen in the winter time, but I'm looking at the difference between 23, 24, 24, 25 in February is quite significant. And I'm just wondering what actions are being taken to remedy this, especially in light of our low water levels and what we're doing to reduce our water main breaks. And how significant is this to the overall production of water and in terms of our overall resource management?
As far as the spike in breaks in February of this year, again, that was attributed to, for some reason in our Dartmouth zone, we had a lot more breaks this winter. A lot of them we were chasing ourselves, so we do have a pretty good leak detection system in place where we can observe our flows, and we know when we have a leak, and we'll get our crews out there looking for them. A lot of those leaks were ones that we found ourselves using our own flow data rather than coming to the surface. Again, it was a challenge in Dartmouth this year, and it's not typical for that region to see that. As far as overall, it's hard to predict in the winter what we're going to get for breaks. Some years we see more than others. And again, we're certainly trying to be on top of them as quick as we can to reduce the amount of water that we're losing.
Any other, Commissioner Cuttle, any follow-up questions?
No, just that there has been some media attention around this, and perhaps at a future board meeting, we could take a closer look at that. I know it was part of a workshop several years ago around the work we were doing with lining pipes, detecting where there were higher outflows, and for newer commissioners and the public, that might be a good thing to put on a future agenda to get an update on and kind of review.
Sure, we'll take note of that. And I think my understanding is that Halifax Water benchmarks against national standards and in fact is doing better than national standards in North America, but believe it's somebody who actually knows to verify whether that's the case or not.
Yeah, but unfortunately in Canada, there's not a lot of water utilities that are engaging in water loss control to the level that we are. You know, in the States, there's a lot more utilities. There's a lot of jurisdictions that require utilities to do water audits. So from that perspective, we're further ahead. One of the undertakings coming out of the hearing was just to see how we compare to other utilities. We're in the process of digging that information up. Like I say, in Canada, there's not a lot of data as far as benchmarking, but we use the American Water Works Association has some good data that we're going to compare ourselves to. But as far as a program goes, we're certainly one of the leading utilities in Canada when it comes to having a water loss control program in place.
Thank you. Any questions, further questions on that report or any of the other reports? Hearing none, I see we're just about on time. Would someone like to move a motion to adjourn? Commissioner Cuddle, second. Commissioner Steele, all in favor? Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to staff for being efficient in their presentations while getting us the information that we needed, and look forward to getting together, I guess, with everybody October 9th, if not before.
Great. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
That's all. Take care.